Hello, everyone. This is Adam with PsychedelicInvest.com. I hope you guys are all doing great. In today's episode, we're going to be breaking down Mind Medicine's Q1 of 2022 financial highlights and just earnings report. So, for those of you not familiar with Mind Medicine, so Mind Medicine is one of the more popular psychedelic biotech companies. They have a decent amount of funding. I want to say over a year's worth of runway. And so, what makes Mind Medicine unique, or in terms of what differentiates them from some of the other psychedelic plays, is their focus on LSD for treating different mental health for different types of mental health issues. So they're looking at it for generalized anxiety disorder. They're looking at LSD for adults with ADHD. They're looking at it for chronic pain as well. That's one of the main things I really appreciate about MindMed, is that in terms of what they have really hitched their wagon to LSD, and I think that's a interesting angle to have in the psychedelic sector, because you have, for example, you have Compass hitching their wagon to Comp 360. So now, in the same sense, we have MindMed hitching their wagon to LSD. They are working on other stuff as well. The same thing with Compass. There are other drugs in the pipeline, but in terms of this is what they're known to the average psychedelic investor as. But yeah, in generally, I am optimistic about the therapeutic benefits of LSD. So in turn, I am also optimistic about some of the LSD trials that MindMed has ongoing, or they even will start at some point this year as well. Because I know that they're looking at their formulation of LSD for numerous different things, similar to the way Compass has done it for Comp 360. So let's see all the different things we can maybe show efficacy or show some promising results for, and see how that works out. So I think it's efficient, and I like that. So that's MindMed for you guys in a nutshell. MindMed has gone through a transition over the last, let's say, year and a half. Their CEO was replaced. I like all the moves that MindMed has done in terms of management. I think when J.R. Rand was the CEO, I wasn't too excited about the company. There was just, it wasn't anything personal about him. It just didn't seem like the company was focused. But over the course of the last year, it definitely feels like things have tightened up in regards to MindMed, and I like the direction that they're heading in. So let's get into the financial highlights, the pipeline highlights, and let's see what we can make of this. All right, so basically, MM120 is their formulation of LSD. So they mention here basically it's being studied for generalized anxiety disorder, for adults with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and for the treatment of chronic pain. So I can speak from the perspective of someone who was diagnosed with severe ADHD. Uh, from my personal perspective, LSD is definitely one of the psychedelics that, in my opinion, could be more efficacious than even, let's say, psilocybin for ADHD. And it's only because LSD happens to have more of a stimulative effect, as opposed in if you compare it to like psilocybin or some other psychedelics. There's definitely something a lot more stimulating about LSD. So what I would say is that in terms of the way ADHD is traditionally treated with stimulants like Adderall, Concerta, stuff like that, it definitely makes sense to me that LSD would be the one that you look at for treating adults with ADHD. And I've obviously tried it myself, and I do have ADHD, and it has definitely been one of the more effective psychedelics, in my opinion. So I'm into that. I think that this study, the study for ADHD, is the one that I will follow, obviously the closest, because it does hit home for me. But I definitely can see how this will show efficacy moving through the trials. It will be very interesting to follow. We'll see how things pan out. But yeah, very excited about all the work that MindMed's doing with LSD. I once again, from just even like a business angle, I think it was an important pivot for them to make in terms of being associated with a specific drug, for example. And I like what MindMed did in regards to LSD. So yeah, so we have basically, they go through how all the results they're getting through the different LSD trials they're doing. If you look at the top line data, everything so far seems to be pretty promising. I just think that we need more time to see how things will really unfold. There are a lot of question marks still because it's still early on in terms of all the data that they're collecting. But so far, so good in regards to all the LSD trials for MindMed. And then we have here, they mention basically 18MC. So this is their formulation of Ibogaine. So I've spoken about this in other videos before. Essentially, is that I do believe Ibogaine is very effective for helping people who suffer from opiate addiction. I'm excited to see how the research progresses around Ibogaine, but it's a matter of I think Atai is also doing an Ibogaine an Ibogaine formulation as well. So it's going to be MindMed and Atai leading the way in regards to Ibogaine. We'll see how the studies progress. Within the psychedelic community, Ibogaine, it definitely is very well known for how effective it is at helping people with opiate addictions. So hopefully Ibogaine can show efficacy throughout the trials, and this will be another winner for both MindMed and Atai's formulation as well. We'll see how that goes. But once again, I am optimistic about the Ibogaine trials, and we'll see how they pan out. They're still pretty early on right now, so. All right, and I think let's jump into the financial highlights. So here's where the important stuff that we should be focusing on. So cash balance as of March 31st, 2022, MindMed had cash totaling $120.5 million compared to $133.5 million as of December 31st. So key here, MindMed believes its available cash will be sufficient to meet its operating requirements beyond its key development milestones in 2023 and into 2024. So like I said with Atai in my last video, their runway is totally sufficient. Obviously, the more the better, but I am not disappointed by this cash runway that they have. So hold on, so they're claiming it's going to be it will be able to help them meeting their requirements into 2024. So that's even longer than Atai claimed that their cash runway would last. So still great. Their net losses here were $18.5 million compared to $13.8 million for the same period in 2021. So their net losses aren't increasing in any like crazy significant way. They're actually pretty reasonable generally. So I think in terms of financial position, MindMed's in a pretty good place. I wouldn't be overly worried, especially given, so this actually connects to, so basically MindMed did announce an at-the-market offering, right? So what is this? So essentially this gives them permission to dilute shares if they need to raise some funds. This doesn't mean they're going to do it, or they're doing it today, or they're doing it tomorrow. This just gives them permission to do it, and it's smart for a lot of these companies to just do it earlier on. So at some point, if the stock price starts appreciating and they want to take advantage of that stock price appreciation, they can dilute at that point to raise some funds if they need to. This is one of the realities of being invested in the biotech sector. Companies will need to raise funds to keep to keep progressing their drugs and to keep the doors open and funding their business for as long as possible. So I'm okay with this. It's totally fine. Once again, this isn't them saying we are diluting today. This is just them saying that if we need to dilute at some point in the future, we have permission to do so. So I wouldn't. The sky's not falling, MindMed investors. This is totally fine. I wouldn't be worrying about this until 2023, the earliest, and we'll see what happens at that point anyway. But once again, this isn't super bearish news at all. This is totally fine, and if anything, it could just mean, hey, we're growing, things are going great, and we need to raise funds at some point within 2023, end of 2023, early 2024. So totally okay with this. And then we have also, the top line data from the phase 1 trial of MM110 in development for treatment of opioid withdrawal. So I went over this already, but essentially, if 18MC is showing promising results, then this is great. I already, like I mentioned, how I felt about Ibogaine. I do think Ibogaine can be one of the solutions for treating opiate withdrawal. We'll see how things pan out through the trials, but I'm happy to see these the promising top line results. Hopefully they continue throughout each phase of the trials. But yeah, that's essentially MindMed's our earnings report in a nutshell. Everything's looking good. Financials look good. Promising results for their LSD trials. Great. Ibogaine, our 18MC, is also showing promising results. That's awesome. I would keep following that as investors. And let's see what the next year holds for MindMed. I can tell you guys this. I have shifted so I used to be slightly more bearish in regards to MindMed, but over time and kind of seeing their focus kind of come into the forefront and understanding what they're trying to do as a company, I am definitely becoming more of a fan of MindMed, and I am excited to follow their LSD trials. We can go to the charts real quick to see how the market's reacted to this. I don't anticipate anything spectacular, but let's do it anyway, because we do it at the end of every video. So I will see you guys at the charts. All right, so we got MindMed here. So once again, MindMed is in the green today, which is nice. I'm assuming they're probably just tracking the broader markets, as are most biotech plays. I will say this: MindMed has definitely hurt more than some of the other psychedelic plays in the sector. MindMed and Cybin are the two that stick out to me as having gotten pretty significantly hurt during this market downturn. They've had harder times recovering. But I will say that in terms of this price for MindMed, I think, once again, if you're interested in some of these psychedelic plays, assess your risk tolerance, and look for a reversal in the markets before starting a position. And if you want to just start a position, then I would go with common shares and avoid using margin. I've mentioned this in my last video, and I'm going to keep reiterating this until the macroeconomic conditions affecting the markets right now ease. So basically, it's nice to see MindMed's green. I am anticipating more market volatility throughout the next 6 months plus. We'll see how that will affect a company like MindMed. But with that said, I like the work that MindMed's doing. They have a nice cash runway, and I would 100% take a look at MindMed if you are wanting exposure to Ibogaine and LSD specifically, as well as some of the other stuff in their pipeline, but most notably LSD and the Ibogaine 18MC. So yeah, this is my video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And in the next video that will be coming out after this, I will be doing another comparison of the big three. We're going to do MindMed, Atai, and Compass earnings report comparisons. So stay tuned for that video. That will be coming out next week. I hope you guys have a great weekend. This is Adam with Psychedelic Invest, and have a great day.